And welcome everyone to NBA Conference Semifinals on ESPN, presented by Wells Fargo. From Air Canada Centre in Toronto in the shadows of the CN Tower. It's the Toronto Raptors trying to draw even. Unguarded for three. It's nothing but net. Larry Johnson, former Charlotte player, and Nick James on the drive, and one over CJ Miles.
But as soon as he saw the switch, he's going strong right to the basket. No way can Miles play him down inside. Now, they got what they wanted. Now, if you notice,
J.R. Smith on the break, drops it for LeBron. Love the trailer. Good pump fake, and knocks down the three ball.
Hits him with a pass.
Incredible vision. DeRozan blocked by Love. And here's LeBron. Got in the air, found Hill for the layup.
It is Sportsfeld Storytime. Today, we close off the end of the DeMar DeRozan era in the Toronto Raptors uniform. We talked last episode about the tip-in game, the 113-112 loss on May 1st, 2018 at the ACC. Maybe the heartbreaking moment of that Raptors era. Just one tip-in, Jonas. Just tap the ball into the rim, and the Raptors are up 1-0, and maybe the series goes differently. But let me tell you, Jake, the series did not go differently after that tap-in did not go in.
You just said the most heartbreaking moment of this Raptors era, and I think in retrospect, that's fair. But I think at the time, Game 2 of the 2018 Eastern Conference Semifinals broke me like no Raptors game maybe ever has. Because it was, there was still hope, you know? They led the Cavs for most of Game 1. They should have won the game, let alone, shouldn't even gotten to the point where Jonas had to tip it in. They should have just won the game. And so going into Game 2 is like, all right, there was definitely part of our brains that was like, well, LeBron smells blood. They had the chance, and now LeBron smells blood, and we're fucked. But there's also part of our brains that was like, we're the 1 seed, and we're still at home where they're very, very good. And it's been a good team all year, and they could bounce back like they bounced back all year, take Game 2, and set us up for a nice long series. And it turned out LeBron smelled blood. And Game 2 was maybe the least fun Raptors game I've ever watched, which is saying a lot.
Boy, oh boy. Raptors go up at the half, up 63-61, and lose this game by 18. They are outscored by 20. They are outscored 67-47 in the second half of this game. Really, really ugly. LeBron, 43, 14, and 8. Almost no point in reading any of your Raptors stats. DeMar and Kyle each both had more than 20, but LeBron fucking James. It was Lebronto in full effect, and this was, as you said, it was the absolute demoralizing versus like the instant heartbreak versus like the, oh, right, this is the future we are doomed for and will repeat over and over and over and over and over again with no sign ever getting out of it.
Working against Siakam. And that three is good. He is feeling it right now.
Out the ball, and then also screening, doing good screens, and then the one-on-one play right here.
One-on-one.
James and Love throughout this quarter have just been outstanding.
I am not going to lie. I just said that this was such a depressing game and such a low point that I thought I remembered it very well. I have no memory of the Raptors being up at halftime in this game. I thought they were smoked fleeting from minute 1.
You're thinking of Game 4 where they get
that too, but I did not remember them actually keeping this one close. That is really shows you how the two halves went. And just to your point, LeBron with 15 in the third quarter on 7 of 10. Over. 15, 6 and 4 in the third, and 12 points in the fourth in 8 minutes. Just all the Lebronto means came to the forefront, and all of the narratives came to the forefront. DeMar with 24 on 11 of 23, Kyle with 21, Jonas with 16, Fred with 14, and no other Raptor hits double digits. The Raptors played 11 guys in this one. No. Yes, 11 guys in this one. And only Norm Powell and Fred VanVleet were pluses on the floor. And Norm Powell played 3 minutes.
Listen, if they are going to salvage this era of the team, if anything is salvageable for this team, they're going to have to leave it all on the floor in game 3. And listen, maybe you were thinking of game 3 in the, I don't remember ever being close. Raptors go down 15 at the half in game 3, down 55-40 at the half. And every excuse for it to be wrapped up and done. They're down 14 going into the fourth quarter, 65-79 going into the fourth. The Raptors score 38 points in the fourth quarter to get themselves within shouting distance, tied at 103 against LeBron and the Cavs with 8 seconds left. Cleveland takes a timeout, and LeBron has the ball inbounded underneath his own basket with 8 seconds left.
Make sure you do not foul anybody here on the dribble.
It's going to be James.
Here it is. See, it's under
3 seconds to go. Throws up the floater. Off glass. Good night, Cleveland. That is for you.
This is, I think, an underrated, memorable Raptors game. Memorable maybe for the wrong reasons, but also for some of the right reasons. This was, to your point, they come out so flat. Just like they looked like a team demoralized, down 15, my mistake, at halftime. DeMar, all of the ugly DeMar narratives came to roost in this one. He shoots 3 of 12 from the field for 8 points and is benched for the entire fourth quarter, which in a vacuum is unheard of. OG and Fred, the fourth quarter is 9 minutes of Kyle Lowry, 12 minutes of Fred VanVleet, 12 minutes of OG Anunoby, 12 minutes of CJ Miles, and 11 minutes and 45 seconds of Serge Ibaka is what leads this comeback. And I think and I hope that this game is looked at as sort of the arrival of OG Anunoby. And the only sort of takeaway from this game was, despite sort of the heartbreak of how this one ended up, was also like, well, they're going to be pretty good next year with that OG guy. Little did we know. But I do think this is also, I think even before the trade, this is the end of DeMar in Toronto. He's benched the entire fourth as they're making the comeback after just an abysmal game. He's a minus 23 in this one. And then OG in the fourth scores 11 points. Kyle scores 15. OG hits the massive three-pointer to tie it, which set up LeBron's unbelievable buzzer beater, which, like, also LeBron's buzzer beater, the degree of difficulty on that shot, he's basically the only guy in the world who can hit that over OG on the run, falling out of bounds. An all-time LeBron moment. And also that, we went into this one being like, all right, they got to get this one. And they came out so flat. And I remember watching this game at the Monarch Tavern and the bar just being dead silent until the fourth. And when OG tied the game, the place just went, the emotion swing was crazy. The place went bananas when OG tied the game. And then you could hear everyone in the bar watching LeBron bring the ball up the court. And everyone was just like, no. We knew. And then he hit it. And it was all she wrote.
Watching and listening back, it's like, man, how did we survive going through this as Raptors fans? How did anybody survive this as a Raptors fan? Lebronto, it was stamped and sealed that no matter what the Raptors did, even if it was benching DeMar DeRozan, there was no way out of this hell of LeBron James. And listen, game 4, the less said, the better. 128-93. The Raps never in it. They go into the half down big and don't really make a comeback effort this time. They go down in the half, 63-47, and they would again lose by 35. Almost nothing to say about this one. Just a terrible effort. DeMar a minus 30 with 13 points on 5 of 11. Kyle only shoots 7 times for 5 points, a minus 23. No positives. They empty the bench. Lorenzo Brown plays 7.5 minutes of that game. That is how out of it they are. LeBron 29, 11, and 8. Kevin Love 23. What can you even say? Anthony Zizic gets into this game. Jose Calderon plays 7.5 minutes in this game. Truly a disaster when it comes to the way this series ended.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the end of the 2016 series, but with none of the joy of pushing them to 6 games. This was a real bottom of the barrel. I remember there was reports of Dwane Casey and Masai fighting in the tunnel or arguing in the tunnel during this game or after this game or at half. I can't remember. Obviously, the DeMar Kyle narratives were never louder than this one. The whole game just basically felt like not watching a game. It just kind of felt like a take factory of like what it means for the Raptors going forward. I remember after watching game 3 in the bar, I think I watched this one on mute on my computer on my couch, just like not even really paying attention, just because like we there was nobody in the world who thought they were going to win this game. It was just like
talk about No, absolutely. To your earlier point about LeBron smelling blood, this was LeBron seeing an injured leg and in the wild and being like, well, this is an easy meal. Knew he had them absolutely demoralized. Dwane Casey is fired not long after. The last game of this series is May 7th. Dwane Casey is dismissed May 11th, and Nick Nurse hired a month later, June 13th, 2018.
That has to be one of the most conflicting feelings as a sports fan I've experienced, because like we all love Dwane, and he literally just won Coach of the Year, and then he got fired, and but it also seemed like the right call. It was so strange to have the reigning Coach of the Year, a guy who is pretty much beloved in the city and by the organization and by the players, and also to be like, oh yeah, they definitely should have fired him.
With how bad that turned out, with how bad games 2 and 4 of that series were, and the fact that they were so close in the 2 games that they were right there and just couldn't get past the hump, it felt like drastic action was needed, and drastic action is what we would get. July 18th, 2018, the trade is DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and 2019 first-round pick Keldon Johnson to the San Antonio Spurs for Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, and $5 million in cash. We go over this in a different Sportsfeld Storytime, but boy, to have gone through all the things that we went through in this playoff series, for the end result to be Kawhi Leonard coming aboard and the Raptors, I mean, history is what happens next, but what an unbelievable thing to come out of this event.
It's possibly the ballsiest executive move or front office move I've ever seen. To be like, we have the 1 seed and the Coach of the Year and 2 perennial all-stars, and recognize that you still weren't getting over the hump with that, and to pull the trigger on the moves that Masai did and Bobby did that offseason. Like, it's still talked about today, and like the reverberating effects on DeMar and the fan base and that summer, and it's a miracle that it worked, is what I will say.
Yes. And one of those things that really changed my opinion about sort of sports management. To be honest with you, it really did have a major effect in that I think around this time we sort of saw the shift, and I know it's been a shift in my mental around sports, as like for such a long time, there was, playing it safe and asset allocation and team control and building on a budget and all these things that was just like, we had build within your constraints and build the right way and all these things. It really shifted me as like, you know what, when you have a shot, when you have a team that is good enough and you have a chance to take that next step, even if it is an incredibly difficult decision, you have to go for it, because that is what sports are all about. It's all about going for it and giving us the moments that 2019 would give us. And I never in a million years thought they would trade DeMar DeRozan. And I certainly didn't think they would trade for somebody like Kawhi Leonard. But sometimes once in a blue moon, when you're right there, you have to seize the moment and stake your claim. And I am eternally grateful that Masai and Bobby and the team had the guts to do that.
Agreed. Well said.
And that is it for another month. That is the Sportsfeld Storytime for the 2018 Eastern Conference Semifinals Toronto Raptors. If you want to find out what happens next, we do have a look back at the 2019 title run, the Kawhi shot, and everything that followed it. That is available. Go back on the Patreon and scoop that out in a previous month. Until then, we look forward to the next month and our next episode of Sportsfeld Storytime.